So, Peter Doocy of Fox News was in the White House press room talking to Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press spokesperson, and he's going to ask a question here, which is basically the whole purpose of it is to smear pro-Palestinian protesters like they're all anti-Semitic. And the reaction from Karine Jean-Pierre led to quite a backlash, quite a scandal. Let's listen and we'll react to it.
Doesn't Biden think the anti-Israel protesters in this country are extremists?
What I can say is what we've been very clear about this. When it comes to anti-Semitism, there's no place. We have to make sure that we speak against it very loud and be very clear about that. Remember, what the president decided when the president decided to run for president is what he saw in Charlottesville in 2017, when he saw neo-Nazis marching down the streets of Charlottesville with vile anti-Semitic just hatred. And he was very clear then, and he's very clear now. He's taken actions against this over the past 2 years, and he's continued to be clear. There is no place for this type of vile and despite this kind of rhetoric.
And we hear you guys, though, talk about extremists all the time. It is usually about MAGA extremists. So what about these protesters who are making Jewish students feel unsafe on college campuses? Are they extremists?
I've been very, very clear. We are calling out any form of hate. Any form of hate. It is not acceptable. It should not be acceptable here, and we are going to continue to call that out. And let me be very clear. This is a president that has continued to have that fight in his office, in this administration. You know, when he repealed Trump's Muslim ban on his first day in office, that is something that this president did. He also established an inter-policy committee to counter Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and related forms of bias and discrimination. We have taken this very, very, very seriously, from the president all the way on down.
The point everybody's making is there appears to be equating going on between pro-Palestinian protesters and the Charlottesville neo-Nazi Jews will not replace us people. And I think that is what's happening. So I'll play it for you one more time, the first part of it, because the question from Fox is like, hey, are these anti-Israel protesters extremists? And then she goes on to say, we condemn anti-Semitism in all its forms. So he didn't say anything about anti-Semitism. He said, are these anti-protesters extremists? And she says, we condemn anti-Semitism in all its forms. So the implication, of course, is the pro-Palestinian protesters are anti-Semitic. Now, look, is there a small percentage of them that might be? Yeah. Is there a small percentage of them that might have been on October 7th and October 8th? Already saying, hey, this is decolonization. Yeah, this is what throwing off the chains of your oppressor looks like. So like pro-Hamas people, yeah, small percentage, sure. But the overwhelming majority of people who are protesting are like, hey, I see that you're bombing babies, carpet bombing babies, over 9,000 innocent people dead, and I'm against that. Let's stop that, especially since we fund it. We're arming Israel as they commit these atrocities. But of course, there's no steel manning the position of the pro-Palestinian protesters. They just lump them in with extremists or anti-Semites. So one more time from the beginning.
Doesn't Biden think the anti-Israel protesters in this country are extremists?
What I can say is what we've been very clear about this. When it comes to anti-Semitism, there's no place. We have to make sure that we speak against it very loud and be very clear about that. Remember, what the president decided when the president decided to run for president is what he saw in Charlottesville in 2017, when he saw neo-Nazis marching down the streets of Charlottesville with vile anti-Semitic just hatred.
Yeah, I mean, the comparison is being made. The comparison is being made. And of course, this has lefties up in arms, because it's like, are you kidding me, man? All we want is Palestinians to have human rights. All we want is to end the relentless slaughter of innocent people in Gaza. And you're being compared to the Charlottesville neo-Nazis? Jesus Christ. Look, Biden is hemorrhaging support over this. What are the numbers? I know we just talked about them, but it was like 59% of Arab Americans were pro-Biden in 2020. Now it's down to like 17%. And that's Arab Americans. That's to say nothing about how much he's hemorrhaging young people. He went down 11 points among Democrats since the Israel bombing campaign started. Young people are running for the hills. And this is their reaction. Okay, so this is a more constructive way to have this conversation. What would have been good for her to say? When he asks, when Fox News asks, are these anti-Israel protesters extremists? What would have been a good way to handle this? Saying something along the lines of, no, the overwhelming majority of them just have humanitarian concerns and don't want to see innocent people get killed. And even if you want to go on and say, hey, is there a small percentage of them that might be extremists? Sure. But I think the overwhelming concern is innocent people are being killed and it's being funded by our tax dollars because we're arming Israel. So, no, these are not extremists. And these people just care about Palestinian human lives. That would have been a fair way to respond. And again, like I said, you even could have brought up, is a small percentage of them potentially extremist or anti-Semitic? Sure. A small percentage of almost any movement is that. Sure. But that's smearing them and painting them with too broad a brush. Instead, what she does is brings up, oh, president is against anti-Semitism. Remember, he was against the Jews will not replace us guys. So, God, and it's so weaponized too. As innocent Palestinians are being massacred, there's this concern trolling over like anti-Semitism on college campuses, acting like that's a bigger problem. And by the way, they conflate just pro-Palestinian groups with, oh, this is anti-Semites who are making Jews feel uncomfortable. No, you know who's leading the charge for Palestinian human rights? A lot of it is American Jews. So, not good, man. And absolutely pathetic. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.